it for the right time. My computer is a different time than.
Hey, this is a world clock app. No excuses. You can
Okay,
add or subtract a couple hours.
listen, we are you guys. We are coming out of the gate hot as we always do. We are back again, and I am with my testy side, my co-host over here. Introduce yourself. Who am I here with?
Hello, everyone. My name is Charles. Like Taji said, I'm the other co-host for the Addicted to Audio Book Club. And yes, you missed some quite fiery takes behind the scenes that Taji first started. We won't say what it is, but Taji did originate this.
He's always blaming me, but that's okay. Don't worry. If you missed the outtakes, there will be more and plenty more if you stay tuned for the hour that we've got planned. Don't you worry. So, hey everybody, welcome back to Taji's World of Books, and today we are doing a reading sprint. And so, the way that we have it sort of set up is we're going to chat a little bit, and then we are going to give ourselves some time to read, and then we will clock back in and see how far we've done. How much do you want to read today? Do we want to get in 30 minutes?
What are you reading?
Do you really want to know? Charity Bee, cupcakes and crooked spoon. Look at Charles.
I knew it. I knew it. I was like, Taji can't help herself. If you guys
Mm-mm.
don't know, we're having Charity Be on Taji's channel tomorrow at
Yep.
9 p.m. And we're gonna be
Yep.
discussing all her books except that trilogy that Taji's currently reading right now.
Mm.
And I told her, I was like, we basically read this author's pretty much her whole backlist except for 3 books. And I know that was going to kill Taji. So she's gonna have to like go, I'm just gonna read these and not tell Charles. Like he won't get angry. Trying to do it on the sly. I see you.
I totally did. I just wanted to know what it's all about. I wanted to see. I wanted to go in and be able to comment about all these little details. So that's what I did. So that's what I'm reading. But after this, then I'm going to graduate on to something else. So having said that, what are you reading?
I'm currently reading. I'm in between 3 books right now. I'm reading Buried Desires by Ashley James. That's an
Hmm.
MM stepbrother romance. Blood
Ooh.
Kiss by Krista Tomlinson, and that's paranormal MM vampire daddy romance. I guess you can call it too. And
Yeah, yeah.
then Chasing Heat by Jason Collins. That's a firefighter romance. MM is too.
Ooh. All
None
of
of
it.
these are on audio, but
None of it on audio. Are you having Alexa read them, or are you just reading them on your Kindle?
I have an app that I'm using that will probably be announced in a future video.
Ooh, little
I'm not
teaser.
gonna I'm not gonna say what it is,
Okay, so you'll clue us in and let us know when we can tune into your channel to see that.
but I will say it's better than Alexa.
Ooh, and so you've been testing it out to see how you like it. Are you working with the company?
No,
You're just trying
but
it out on your own to see if you
no,
like
but it's a good alternative.
it. Ooh,
For, but I'm not gonna say that much. You have to watch the video when that comes out.
watch the video. We'll
You have
watch
to
it.
watch the video when it comes out, then you'll find out. Then you'll know.
When are you gonna? Can you give us a clue as to when that's gonna be up?
So give me like a 6 month time, 6 month lead.
Charles, you're like, I'm gonna put it up on my channel, but it'll be like in a year. So like, you can tune in on June 15th in 2023, and that's when it's gonna be announced. I will have filmed the video next week, but it'll be up in June.
I was like, it needs to wait. The video's telling me it's not ready to release yet.
You're like, I just got this feeling.
It's telling me to wait a year.
All
So
right,
I'm gonna wait a year on it.
all
No,
right.
but
Drop
hopefully in the next couple weeks it will be out.
fantastic, fantastic. So having said that, so you got some really good picks there. I'm wanting to hear about more about this stepbrother. Who's that? Which one is that one again? The stepbrother
Let
romance?
me see. I'm surprised you haven't heard of it. It's really popular. Let me pull up the cover. You probably might recognize the cover if you see it.
Ooh, Ashley James. Yes, I have seen that. I have seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it on TikTok or somebody's feed.
I need like these TikTok books to like get on audio quicker. Cause like everyone and their mother talk. I'm like, I know the author's making a ton of money off these books. Cause this has like what, 2,000 ratings on Amazon.
Wow,
I'm like,
wow.
it's a lot. There's like that Whip by Cora Rose is another popular one that I see, but none of them
Hmm.
are on audio. So
Yeah,
I'm like, I,
we need audio. I think their authors are getting more hip to it. They are getting much more quickly, getting things up more quickly. But there are still some that are indie authors or whatever that are taking a little bit of a long time. That I'm surprised. Like I look and I'm like, none of their backlist is on audiobook, and I'm like, you know that there are some serious audiobook lovers out there. So why is this not like it should be a standard if your budget allows for it, a standard part of your release. It should be
yeah,
tiered where you give it a little bit of a lead way where you don't have it on audio, but you get it out on Kindle and so forth. And then once it's performed a little bit and you've got a little bit more capital, then you put it out on audio. But who knows?
yeah.
What do I
To
know?
quote, to quote one of my favorite authors, Nikki Ash, I have an interview with her on my channel, but
Mhm.
she basically described it like when she was first publishing, she didn't really consider audiobooks because that was something that she did not listen to.
Ah,
But she said, "Hey, you have to think about this with a more of a business sense in mind. And if you don't have your books on audio, especially if you can't afford to do it, whether it's like selling your rights to like an audiobook, like a Podium or a Tantor or something like
mhm.
that is money you're leaving on the table. So like, ideally, if you can, you should have like a paperback, an alternative paperback cover, hardcover, audio, and then an electronic copy."
Yeah,
Because it's true, like some people won't buy your book because it has a hot person on the cover. They want a discreet cover.
you want a discrete cover. So yeah, you have to market to the mass. There's
Hmm.
a number of different ways that you have to kind of get stuff out there. So that's very true for sure. So which one did you decide which one you're going to read? Or are you going to do a little bit like I know you've got your plan. So right, like you have to have so many pages that you want to get through per day for each one.
Wow, why you like you calling out my schedule, man?
I know. I pay
I
attention.
technically finished finished what I wanted to read today, so
Oh,
I may read the firefighter, read
okay. So
some more
you're
chapters of that.
fantastic. So that means it's all like free. It's all this is all gravy right now. So whatever you read, it's above and beyond what your goals are.
Yeah, I'm trying to be more like you. I'm channeling you. I'm like, okay, let me try to finish series, but yet I just went on Amazon. Like all these books I mentioned are like books in a series. I'm like, I will get there eventually. I will get there eventually where I can finish a series outright.
Are you starting to feel like when you finish a series in succession, it doesn't have to be one after another, but very close in proximity to time, that you have a better reading experience because you can remember all those characters and you're in the feels of what the author wanted you to experience at that time?
No, I'm actually different. I don't know if you heard of it. It's a Bound series by Darcy Rose. It's a three-part novella series. So I
Hmm.
read the first two parts like probably over a year ago, and I
Okay.
bought the final part, and I was like, oh, last night I was like, okay, let me just read this. It's only 89 pages. Let me finish this out really quickly. I picked it up. I was like, okay, I remember everything that
So you were
it comes like if the author leaves enough breadcrumbs, I can like go, oh, okay, yeah, I remember this book. Da 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 da. He's a general setup. Da 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 da. There's three guys. Okay, da da da. Okay, I got it. I'm weird like that. Like
yeah.
it picks up where I can remember certain details. It's usually I can't go back and reread or start or reread all the books in one quick succession because then I
Mhm.
start to hate the books. Because especially the author doesn't change it wildly between each books.
Mhm.
Then I'm like, ooh, or I start to notice things that wouldn't have bothered me if I spread it out a little bit more. But because I'm reading them also back to back to back to back to back, I'm like, I kind of I pick out those things a little bit more. But Taji, have you been watching Rings of Power?
I have. I'm
Okay,
over the moon excited about it.
what did you? As soon as the first episode and they tease the human and elf couple with their child, I was like, I'm sold. When he said he basically said, I proved to you that I loved you in many ways, but words, I'm like, I'm done. Oh,
And
I
that's because I didn't even see that teaser. I just have been watching the show itself,
oh,
and
behind the
the two things,
scenes.
the storyline as well as the cinematography and how they're doing it. I'm like, this is beating out Game of Thrones, like the drag, like, and I was really excited about House of Dragons. And so when I put them side by side in comparison, this is by far the superior show.
Oh,
But
really?
I think, in my opinion, and I was a huge Game of Thrones fan, and I am loving it. I'm absolutely loving it.
The
Yes.
only caveat I have with that's I feel like I can't say one is better because at least Game of Thrones can always be more adult when it needs to.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna see any sexy or smeggy times in Rings of Power or
Yeah. No.
any overt like even though I kind of feel like the elves kind of have like some type of like there's some of them who are
Mm-hmm.
definitely in the LGBT like Elrond and the High King. I'm like I caught vibes in the first couple of episodes. I caught vibes, but like I feel like I feel like they're too different. Game of Thrones, I can get my high violence, tons of sex and gore, and
Yeah.
Rings of Power, I can get something where I can watch with other people and not be like,
Not like, oh my gosh, like you're not cringe, right?
you're not like cringe, like you can watch it, but like, I still have a soft spot for Game of Thrones because like they can do things that Rings of Power would never be able to do in terms of like
Maybe
some
because
of the story choices.
we
But
expect that with Game of
yeah,
Thrones, maybe.
but at least with
But I also
Amazon, you can see they spent like a ton of money on this show. It looks
totally
gorgeous.
so gorgeous. I love how the story is developing. I love how like I can see the connections
Mhm.
between Galadriel and who, like, what is that, 2000, however many thousands of years ago versus now. And let me say this, in a little bit of a departure, I almost lost my mind this week when HBO announced that they are in talks with George R. R. Martin to do a spin-off on a storyline on Jon Snow by himself. It's like it's going to be his story, and I was like, oh my god, like I'm in fantasy heaven over here, because fantasy is like where, like, that's my origins. Like I love fantasy, and I think I started off with fantasy and then really fell into like fantasy romance and really enjoyed the romance. And then I was like, well, why am I reading this fantasy? I'm reading it and watching it because I want to see the romance piece, and that's sort of how I then stepped into
Got
the
into the
romance
romance.
genre. So when I'm reading a book, I would prefer not to read a fantasy because it's just too much that I have to, like, my mind has to focus on, whether
Mhm.
it be the magical system, the world building, the rules, whatever it is. It's too much, as opposed to when I watch a show, I can track all those details and I'm totally fine with it. And so I
Yeah,
would prefer.
it's a little bit easier in a show because like they can like the way Rings of Power does it is so genius. Like you have your groups of characters, you understand where they all are in relation to each other, and it's like okay, so this season is like basically all set up.
Totally.
It really is like you can tell. I'm like, how many main characters are there in this show? I'm like, dang.
It's a lot.
Especially when we got to Numenor, I'm like, okay, now there's like there's like six other characters here. I'm like, who are you? Like,
Yeah. Where
like
did you come from?
go back to my black elf and his bay. I'm like, that's all I'm here for.
Love it. Love it. I'm absolutely, and I love the diversity. I love, like, it's just really well done. And
Mhm.
it's very woke for right now. Like it's very like appropriate for right now. And so I'm happy with it. So that's my, on Sunday, I'm like, I gotta get my reading in, and then I like till like 8 o'clock, and then I'm like, okay, gotta hit my shows now. I get my
I
shows
love
in.
it. Like it's good. I just want to see some more fantasy romance.
Yeah. We're
I
not
feel like
there. We're
we're not
still,
there yet. But
yeah,
I'm
we're
like
still in
Rings of
world
Power. I'm
building.
like it has a really good one. I was like when they teased it, I was like human and fae. I mean
Mm.
human and elves usually never end well.
Yeah,
And there's
because you
only
can,
one other couple that was noted to. There's only one other couple in history, and that didn't end well. But I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I really vibe with this.
I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm super excited about it. It almost makes me want to go back and read the actual books, and then I'm like, nah.
Same. I was like, let me get all the history now. But I'm like, let's be honest. I'm just, the romance. Like they were smart to put that in the first episode because
Because it's a hook. It
I
hooked
was like,
you.
it hooked me. I was like,
Yeah,
what's
right
going on
away.
with the kid and him and that sword? I'm like, he may turn dark. I was like, I'm in.
All in,
I'm
all in. I
in.
want to know what's happening with that sword. Every time it gets a little taste of blood, I'm like, oh, here we go. Oh,
And the
here we
orc,
go.
I was like, and the orcs, I'm like, they're actually kind of scary in this show. I'm like, oh, I would not want to mess with one of them.
You know what's fantastic about it is that every show, every episode is like a full feature film. Every
Yeah.
episode is like I've gone to the cinema and watched, and every time it ends, it leaves me like panting and wanting more. And that's how I know when I can't wait for the next week. I'm like, y'all did a great job with this.
Is it me or how do you feel about this? I prefer the week to week drops for shows. I'm starting to get tired of the binge. Like when
Yeah,
Stranger Things,
it
when they split it up and like
mhm.
everyone was watching week by and like it felt like an event. Like I love that. It was like you didn't feel like, okay, my favorite show just dropped. Okay, let's see if I can have 8 hours just to
Yeah,
sit here and watch it all the way through. I
it
kind of
forces
like the weekly
you down.
drops.
Yeah, and digest it a bit
Yeah,
better as opposed to me staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning and like doing it all at one go. And then I'm like, oh, now I'm waiting like another 2 years for it to come out. Whereas like this is like, it's spaced out. So I like
yeah.
it.
I could, because I feel like I couldn't have been binge Rings of Power. It would have been way too much
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
watch.
no.
Like, because that would have been like 10 hours. I'm like, okay, my brain hurts. It's a little
Yeah,
bit too much back to back to back to back to back.
I agree. I agree. Okay, so let's
Okay.
do it. So let's get started on our reading and let's go to it's 20 after 6. Let's go until 6:50. And see how we do. So I will put in and 6:50. What time is that your time, Charles?
9:50. Okay. Well, I will see you then.
Okay. I will put it up and then okay, let's do it. Okay. So, how did it go?
Good, good. I only read 2 chapters of the firefighter, and then I read 4 chapters of the blood vampire one.
Hmm. And anything good happening? Is it progressing?
No, I'm kind of bored.
You're like, this is kind of
We're
boring,
we're
but
we're in our second act, like so we're just going through the motions right now. But
yeah, it's like, oh, it'll get there.
it's getting there. But I don't think these are gonna be. I don't think I can. We'll give them higher than a 4. They're like
Okay.
around a 3 right now, a 3 or 2, depending on
Which is,
how they end.
yeah, well, three is nah, like, I feel like a little bit like, I wasted my time, but it is what it is. Like, everything can't be a 4 or 5.
And if we could like tell that something's gonna be a 2 or 1 star and be
Mm,
100% accurate, that
yeah.
would be like the greatest reading tool. Because you'd be like, first page, 2 star, 1 star,
Yeah.
next.
Moving.
But how about,
Yeah.
I would ask you about yours, but I don't want to know
No, I
because then
mean,
you're gonna convince me to read it, and I'll
no,
be
I'm
like,
not.
Taji had
I'm
me
not.
read all this backlist.
I'm not. I'm making progress. This is the way that she did this trilogy is that it's really a duet, right? The first two books,
Hmm.
like the first book is like, here's everything, here's what's going on, set up. Second book is here's the wrap up and the epilogue, which is like satisfactory. And then this book is like, oh, all that time that you heard about, but you didn't see what happened. This is like going back in the past and telling you all the details of what happened. So this is actually the hardest book in the series, you know. But you still have
Oh,
to
so it was like
read
she
it.
tells it. She was really like, oh, okay, I get it, I get it, I get it. That's
Yeah, you
weird.
do have
That's a
to
weird
read it.
setup.
It's a little bit weird. Like, I would have been happy with it being a duet, but like, for whatever reason, she felt like she needed to go back and tell us what exactly happened during those years that they were, these characters named Tavin and Tobin were together in captivity. And so it's like, this is tough. She's not an easy author. She's not an easy author. It's like, it's heavy stuff. So I'll be happy to move on to some other, like, I want some like really light and fluffy rom-com that's like just,
I mean,
hey,
like you basically read her whole backlist at this point. There's no more books that you can read by her now.
there's one more. There's one
There's
more
one
little
more.
one more no, little novella that she writes in the decadent world. And it's
Oh,
like,
okay.
she's like, it's like a collaboration with other authors.
Uh-huh.
So, there are like not many authors. I was going back and looking to see who I read their entire backlist. Another author that I've read their entire backlist, and I was shocked and surprised that I did this. And it's Corinne Michaels. I have one series that I have not read of her backlist, and that's pretty much it. I've read everything, and I'm like surprised
I'm
because
not surprised.
you're not surprised.
No, I can see that being one author. Because I remember I don't like Corinne. I don't think I liked her latest book. Like
Which
Help
one?
Me Remember, Help Me Forget or something.
Yeah,
I did
like,
not
yeah.
like it. I did not like it. I'm not a
Mhm.
huge fan of the amnesia trope. It has to be done really, really well.
I agree. I agree with
But yeah, it was I read another one, her arrow but Come Back
Arrowwood.
for Me. I
Yeah, the
really
arrow
like that one.
is good.
I was a little bit angry that it was low steam or fade to black for the whole series. I
Yeah,
think
it's
that's what it is.
like a slow burn type.
But I
You know,
think it's very low steam or fade to black. I remember I read book
they're not
2
they're
and
not
it's not
faded, but
steam.
they're very low steam. They're like,
Hmm.
it's not like a lot of sexy time. You know.
I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
wish
yeah. But
someone needs to create a database of like a very tried and true steam rating so you know like what you're getting into when you get into a book because I hate that. Because
there
you can
you
have a book with like a half naked dude on the cover and it could be a clean romance. And you're like, what? And then you can get a you can get a cover with a picture of a dog, and that could be the spiciest book you ever read this year.
you're like, I want it all laid out. I want to know when it's a 2 rating or a 1. I want to know from page 1 or 2, and then I want a good spice, rating, so I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I don't trust TikTok anymore. TikTok is like, oh, it's super spicy, da 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 da. And of course, it's like only like the couple scenes in the book that are actually spicy, and that's the ones they tell you about. I'm like,
See, but that's why we do what we do. We and the people that follow us, right? That that read what we read and like what we like, trust our judgment because it never fails you. You know, you're like, that's my OG right there. It never fails me. Like I know it's a good recommendation right there.
Because
Because
I'm
you're
just the
right.
kind of
Some people
person.
say like, oh, this is super spicy, and I read it and I'm like, it, what's wrong with me? Because I'm like, this is G. Not quite that bad. Not quite that bad. But like seriously. Confused.
Oh my goodness. I
Yeah,
consider like the number of like sexual things that happen and how well written they are. That's how I consider like it has to be those two things for a book to be steamy. Because it
yeah,
can have one, but if it has a really good written like sex scene, it makes the whole book. Like if it's really good, like some authors did can do that. When it's just
mhm.
a really really well written scene, you're like, ooh, I
That was good. That was
that was
good.
good. Versus like you have like Olivia Cunningham has like a bajillion steamy scenes, and you're like, I'm not feeling anything anymore.
Tessa
After
Bailey,
the first two, I'm like, I'm good now.
Tessa Bailey did that for me with Fixer Up. I was like,
Uh,
ooh, it wasn't like all crazy throughout the book, but when you got those scenes, and I remember when it was like Thanksgiving, I think it was like Thanksgiving dinner. It was like a family dinner, and they snuck out to the back shed outside, and I was like, ooh, Tessa. Like as compared to like a taboo romance, right? Like we did
mhm,
taboo romance and there's sex throughout the entire thing. And some of that can be, it depends. Like Skeleton King, like it was cringe. It was totally cringe. Like I was like, woo, woo. You know what I mean? Like not
yeah.
fun. Whereas other times it's taboo and it's like, oh, like my stepbrothers, whatever type situation. And I'm like, you know,
hmm I
or
feel
be
like Charity B, like she's like explicit, but she's not. I wouldn't consider her steamy reads.
I agree.
I wouldn't consider them like steam. They're explicit, like it's described,
It's
but
there.
there's so much other traumatic things that are happening alongside that go through that sex scene that
Yeah. I'm like, I can't even get there now because
I
it's.
can't even. I'm like, this is like.
Mhm,
I'm like the Skeleton King. I was like the first one. I'm like, did you really have to show us that him
mhm.
actually? I'm like,
Sure did. And you know what though? Like I said, and we'll talk more about this, you guys, tomorrow.
mhm.
But that wasn't even the crazy part for me. Like I was like, well, look, I've moved on past this. I'm stuck. This other crazy stuff is making me a little nuts right now.
I
So,
have even crazier. I read more from Nikita.
oh, you read
That
more?
I read it's Brutal Crown. It's the first book in her like the Ravenswood series or something like that. And Taji, I'm not gonna spoil it. There's a thing that she does that happens to the heroine
How does
that
she? How
my
did Nikita spell her name? Wait, Nikita.
Nikita.
That's what I thought, and she's not coming up on Goodreads.
Try
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. What does she
try
do?
try hitting period like after like Nikita period.
Mm-mm. I'm gonna go on there because the first book was called This Love Hurts, right? That we read.
hmm
Okay, so what did she? And which book are you talking about?
I think it's called Brutal Crown by Nikita.
Yeah, it is Nikita with the period. You're right.
Yeah, I thought it was like a very specific spelling to get to show up.
Yeah,
But
it
I
is.
read
It's
Brutal King,
Brutal
and
King from the.
I'm like seasoned when it comes to dark romance like you.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna spoil it at all, but there was a scene that happened to the heroine where my mouth was on the floor and I couldn't believe that the author went there.
I'm gonna check it out because you know what? The second book in the series, the ratings just get better. That first book doesn't like quite have the ratings, but as the series progresses, it gets better and
Yeah.
better. Okay, so I'm gonna add
It
this to
follows the
my.
same couple too. It's the same couple for the first two
Oh, I love
books.
it. I love it.
So like
What
the first
it's called?
book is more it's your enemies to lovers, um, bully, guess type romance, dark type romance,
Mm-hmm.
and that's basically your general premise. So you know. But yep, I remember I
Mm-hmm.
was reading it last night, and I was reading, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, I can't believe she did that to the heroine.
Oh
I
wow,
was like,
she calls. Oh no, that's a different book. A
what?
Raymond. There's another Brutal King, and that's a dark brought Academy romance. I was like, what? What's going on over here? But this is Nikita. Okay.
Yeah,
I am adding it now to my TBR. That's like that. Like I said, those are selling points. You're like something happens and you draws on the floor. I was like, well, I gotta see what this is all about.
and I applaud her because like if you're worried, it doesn't actually show you. You don't have to like go through the experience, but you see the aftermath.
The aftermath of it. And I sometimes it can be a bit much. So I sometimes appreciate where I know that it happened, but I don't have to
But
see it
it's
on
not.
page. That's what I wish Lydia Michaels would have done with Hurt, with that scene. I would wish she would have. I wish we would have referenced it and talked about it, but I don't want to be in it. And not only was I in it,
Yeah,
she had me like I could hear the like porcelain rattling and like like I was
you
just
felt like you were in that. You felt like you were in her head,
it's too
like the
much.
character's head while you're reading. I was like, and it
Oh,
didn't have
mm-mm.
anything to really do with the story that
Correct.
she was telling.
Correct.
And like the way the hero was constructed, he's supposed to be like this, like the best fighter, the most lethal fighter, but yet everyone around him that he tries to protect all of a sudden ends up dead. But yet he can take out like some random stranger very easily. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. But you know
But
what though? But you know what though? I will say it's been a good bit since we read that book and I still reference it. So however like you feel about it, it's still like it still sits in my mind. So for me, whether you like it's like art, right? Whether you love it
mhm,
or you hate it, it evokes a strong emotion that your go-to on it and that it's done its job. Because that's what
yeah,
art is supposed to do. It's supposed to evoke something in you and that scene sits with me, even though I didn't like it. You know what
mhm,
I mean? Like so I look
yeah,
at it
totally.
like that.
Cause I know she's a good writer because I read really great books by her. That's why I'm so tough on her. 'Cause I'm like, I know you can write better than that. I know you can write like when like her Jasper Falls. That book is so different than what she has written because it's small town, relatively low steam rom-com. Not
Yeah,
rom-com, but it's like small town romance.
yeah,
And that book, I was like, I was so emotionally drained. I was crying. I was like, this is so
yeah,
different from like Hurt and all the other books that she's written.
totally.
So I was like, I know she can do well. That's why I was like,
Yeah, I'm expecting more. My standards are pretty high for you. Like we
yeah,
have certain authors that my stand, like Kay Webster, I have a high standard for Sierra Simone, high standard for Corinne Michaels. Since I'm reading all her stuff, I'm expecting.
you're
So
expecting this. You're expecting it to slap. Like you're expecting it to be a good read. Like
yeah,
you're gonna buy the book and you're gonna read it and you're gonna be like, I trust you. Don't
yeah.
burn me.
Don't burn me because I'll come for you. Never stop. No.
But for future plans, we have more reading sprints planned for you guys. We
Yeah,
have Charity Bee coming up on Taji's channel, the channel that we're on right now,
yeah.
tomorrow at 9 p.m. And then I believe 2 weeks from then, we have another reading sprint. And then we also have a special video that will be announced hopefully soon.
Yeah,
We
we
know
got.
what it is, but we can't tell you
We can't tell
because it's
you
not
yet.
its own, but it's
Yes.
coming.
Is coming. We have a couple of really cool things that are coming in the future, and we're going to be excited to kind of put that out on blast. But like Charles said, we're going to keep the secret under our hat for right now, but you'll find out soon. So stay tuned, you guys. Yeah. So I think that's all that we have for today. Any parting words other than you drop that little teaser for people to kind of be like, what?
No, just show up for Charity Bee. If you're a fan of dark romance, if you're curious about
Yeah.
why we read dark romance and want to hear some discussions on dark romance, I would
Because
definitely
I
make
read
sure that you come tomorrow.
Charity B has the reason she started writing dark romance is because she is a fan and a lover of dark romance herself, and one of her favorite dark romances is one of mine, which is C.J. Roberts' The Dark Duet, the Capture Me. You know,
Uh,
So she
I
read
know
that.
that one.
She was like, "Ooh, what?" And then that's when she started writing from there. So those are like the little teasers of things that we'll get into tomorrow, and more from there. So come and join us. But I think that's all that we have for today, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you very, very soon.